If your sample is solid, you need to prepare a column before being able to run the instrument. First thing is to grab a new column for packing your sample. Those are located here under the instrument in the cabinet. To pack your sample, you need a couple things. You need to get 2 sample packing discs, your sample, and the packing tool. The packing discs and packing tool are located in the drawer just below the instrument. A packing disc needs to be inserted before your sample. To do so, place the disc on the bench top and place the column opening over and press down. Use the packing tool to move the disc all the way down to the end of the column. Next, pour your dry sample into the column to cover the first disc. To cover your sample with the second packing disc, place the disc at the column opening and use the underside of a lab bench to press the disc into the column. Now, use the packing tool to push the disc down to your sample. Push the tool down to pack your sample tightly. Your sample is now packed and ready to be loaded. To load a solid sample, you need your packed solid sample column and the plunger assembly and the column body protector. The plunger assembly and column body protector are located here to the left of the instrument on the tray. Before loading, the plunger assembly T-handle needs to be turned all the way to the right to loosen the O-ring. To do so, grip the top cap and turn the T-handle. Now that the O-ring is loose, insert the plunger assembly into your packed sample column until the end is pressed against the top packing disc. To tighten the O-ring, to make a seal, grip the top cap again and twist the T-handle left until the O-ring is pressed tightly to the column body. The T-handle should be mostly tight. Before loading your sample column and plunger assembly into the instrument, the plunger assembly needs to be locked. To lock the assembly, the top of the column must be nested into the slot of the bottom cap of the plunger assembly. Hold the assembly upside down and grip the top cap. Gently twist the plunger rod to the right to insert locking tabs into the locking slots. Finally, place the column body protector over the column and twist until the tabs are locked with the plunger assembly. To finish loading, place the collection into the flash instrument. For liquid samples, a plastic syringe is filled with your liquid sample, leaving a centimeter of headspace. The filled syringe is then placed into the flash instrument. You need to prime a pump whenever you change solvents or when prompted to by the machine. First, you need to remove the front panel by gently pulling back on the handle to disconnect the magnets. Lift up and set the panel aside. Now place a paper towel at the bottom of the opening section to catch any dripping solvents from future steps. Determine which pump needs to be primed. The solvent pump is located near the bottom and is the black disc with a hole in the center. The ELSD pump is located above the solvent pump and looks the same. Retrieve the 30 milliliter plastic syringe that is kept here to the left of the machine. On the screen, click the Tools tab and select Solvent Loading. For the necessary lines, click Load and select the type of solvent. Insert the syringe into the necessary hole. Insert the syringe into the necessary hole and turn the disc to the left to open the pump. Make sure the head of the syringe is the lowest it can be. Click Manually Prime on the screen to begin the priming. Gently pull the syringe plunger back to draw solvent through. Pull at least 10 milliliters through, then watch for air bubbles. to stop coming out of the pump. Once the air bubbles stop, turn the disc back to the right tightly but gently and exit the manually prime screen. Repeat for each necessary solvent line and the ELSD pump if required. Dispose of the solvents after priming in the organic waste. Now that your sample is loaded, it is time to perform a run. To set up a run, a separating column needs to be installed before putting in any parameters. The silicon separating columns are located here underneath the instrument in the cabinet. The column is installed onto the second input opening, and column arm is lowered to it. Gently press the arm down to make a seal. Some things to consider when setting up the parameters for your run are settings like the runtime, the ramp rate, and the solvent choices. Before setting any parameters, you need to make sure the parameters you choose are sufficient for your sample with an instructor. Once your parameters are set and approved, press the Start Run button. Now lower the sample column arm by pushing the down arrow until the arm gently compresses onto the sample column. After sample arm is lowered, select the available trays for sample collection by checking boxes necessary. Finally, select the type of injection and the run should proceed. If prompted, prime the pumps indicated.